like this. Imagine a president who comes to power. The first thing he did was change national anthem. Instead of blessing over. They said they will give us road. Coastal road to the south side. Up to now, they have not given us the road. The money is gone.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. We are still discussing current affairs in Nigeria. So earlier today, Peter Obi, Atiku, Kwankwaso, Rotimi Amaechi, and Dino Milai, all members of the ADC, all members of the opposition, they staged a protest in Abuja today, termed or deemed Occupy INEC protest. I feel this is a very, very good move because this is one of the few times that we are seeing the opposition putting up a united front. Something that Nigerians have been always complaining about is the fact that the opposition seems to be disjointed. They seem not to have their act together, as it were. They look like they are different people chasing different objectives. But this protest makes, at least it's a very good step in the right direction towards showing unity and coordination in the opposition, in the ADC, which is very, very good. Another aspect that I find really, really nice is the fact that they are sticking it up to INEC. You know, for the past few weeks, INEC has just been going crazy, just saying all sorts of things, just doing everything. The INEC and INEC chairman Amopitan has just been doing anyhow, as it were, saying they won't recognize ADC. Just obviously doing the bidding of the ruling party, allegedly at least. So this protest by the ADC, where all prominent members at least were present physically, they all turned up, they all protested, they all voiced their own opinion. That was very, very nice as well. But something about this ADC, which I have voiced out in a couple of videos now, is the fact that ADC is a sinking ship. Whilst I like the protests, I like the effort, I like that the opposition are finally coming together and are moving in the right direction, moving in one united direction. That's very, very good. However, the ADC is a sinking ship. From all indications, from what I'm hearing, the ADC is already compromised. There's already factionalization, there's already internal division, and INEC is exploiting that to say that until this crisis and internal division is stopped or is addressed, they won't recognize ADC, and ADC will not participate in the forthcoming elections. And that is obviously a huge problem for any member of the ADC. It's a huge problem for Atiku, it's a huge problem for Peter Obi, it's a huge problem for Rotimi Amaechi, it's a huge problem for any politician under the ADC. Because if ADC is not recognized by INEC, then any member of ADC, any politician that is a card-carrying member of ADC will not be able to, or will not be allowed to participate in whether presidential election, governorship election, or legislative election. So obviously that's something to worry about for sure. So what my advice is now for the opposition is, whilst I like this move to protest and to voice your opinion, of course you need to take action. We need to take what's ours in Nigeria. Like, we can't just sit down while the ruling party does what he likes. We can't just sit down while President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does what he likes and his cronies around him does his bidding, and we're just taking it. It doesn't make any sense. At the end of the day, power belongs to us. It's only we that can take power, and we have to. It's not going to be given to us. It's something that we have to take. Unfortunately, that's the kind of system we find ourselves in. But I would like to advise the opposition to quickly leave ADC, because as it stands now, there's already a lot of factionalization. As we speak, there's a third faction that has emerged. Previously, what we have been discussing is we've had the David Mark faction and we've had the Nafiu Gombe faction. But now there's a third faction that's emerging, and this faction is the Obina / Ikechukwu faction. Obina is the person spearheading the faction. I have to do an entire video about it. But to cut this long story short, the Obina Ikechukwu faction is like, Obina is the one spearheading it, while Ikechukwu is the one. Sorry, not Ikechukwu, Kachiku, Dumebi Kachiku. Sorry, that's my bad. Dumebi Kachiku faction, Obina Kachiku faction. So basically, the Kachiku is the one that contested, is the former presidential aspirant for the ADC in the last election. So he feels like the ADC kind of removed the carpet from under his feet, because he didn't necessarily agree with this new coalition coming in. He didn't necessarily agree with it, and from his own point of view, it's like he was the former presidential candidate, so he feels he should have a stake in determining who is going to get the ticket at the very, very least. He feels somewhat entitled to the ADC ticket. And of course, the game has changed. The ADC that he knew in 2023 and the ADC now is two different things. Now there's an there's Atiku, who is a former vice president. There's a Peter Obi, who is a former two-term governor. There's a Rotimi Amaechi, who is a former two-term governor. There's a Nasir El-Rufai, there's a former two-term governor. There's Tambuwal, who is a former two-term governor. There's Abubakar Malami, who is a former attorney general. So, of course, the ADC that he knew and he contested the presidency with in 2023 and the ADC of now is not the same thing. So, that naturally, a lot of control and powers are going to shift from him. And obviously, he doesn't find that funny. He doesn't like it. And he's now coming out with his own faction, spearheaded by one Obina, as it were. So that's where the ADC is. Obviously, the crisis is not just coming from, because everybody was trying to say that, okay, Rabiu Gombe, they came up with evidence, and I did a video about it just earlier today as well. Rabiu Gombe, people have come out to refute his claim that he was not present at the ADC unveiling last year, but the video evidence shows that he was, and now he's singing a different argument now, saying that his signature was forged, he never resigned, this, that, and the third. So it's obvious that ADC is a sinking ship. And there's a timetable, all these things that happen, all this internal crisis, there's a time frame which INEC, there's a timetable rather, which INEC came out with, and basically all parties have to get their act together before primary. Primaries is sometime late this month, April, either late this month, I'm not sure about the dates, but late this month or early next month. So between now and that time, all parties have to get their act together. If they don't, INEC could not recognize them and they won't be able to participate in the 2027 elections. So ADC, whilst I like the coalition, whilst I like the opposition, I think they just have to make that move and leave ADC. ADC is not fit for purpose. ADC, from what I've heard, there's a lot of internal sabotaging going on. There's a lot of APC moles that has been planted in ADC. In fact, so ADC is not fit for purpose. ADC cannot be the vehicle which this opposition will try and attempt to unseat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027. I really don't think that's going to be possible with everything, the totality of evidence presented before me. I don't think that's going to be possible. INEC is not going to recognize ADC, and INEC has sufficient legal backing to say it's not going to recognize ADC, because INEC specifically said they are not going to recognize any party that has internal crisis. And ADC does not have one internal crisis, it does not have two, it has three. At least it has three factions now. So there's problems coming from all directions. So ADC, I don't think they are going to be able to recover in time to contest elections. So, but the good news is that a lot of members in the coalition are holding secret talks on leaving ADC and going to other parties. There's what I'm hearing is APP and NDC. APP is Action People's Congress, Actions People's Party. NDC is National Democratic Congress. So there's a lot of options to move to. The ADC is not the only party. While ADC is, of course, most associated with this coalition, ADC is not the end all be all. ADC is not set in stone. There's other parties, and the politicians are considering other parties. Peter Obi, Atiku, and Kwankwaso, they are considering other parties, because all things being equal, if they stay in ADC, INEC is not going to recognize it, which is exactly what APC wants. APC, the ruling party, wants a scenario where there's no even reasonable opposition. There's no main contender opposition. It's just APC versus other far smaller parties. That is going to be a walkover. President Tinubu is obviously going to beat. That is what they want. That's the scenario that they desire. And basically, it is up to the juggernaut of the opposition, Atiku, Peter Obi, Kwankwaso, Rotimi Amaechi, to make sure that doesn't happen, to make sure that they make it to the ballot. Because if they do, there's no probability. And I said it and I said the same thing in the video I made earlier today. If this opposition can make it to the ballot, can weather the storm, can do everything possible, find a party, make it to the ballot, conduct your campaigns, conduct your primaries, hitch-free, no issue, settle who is going to be vice, who is going to be president, do everything, and just make it to the ballot. You understand? They're going to put up a very, very good fight against President Tinubu. Even if they lose, it's going to be a very tough competition. It's going to be something that's going to make the APC sit up. You understand? Because the whole purpose of democracy is competition. You understand? Once there's competition, it makes even the ruling party to sit up and at least act better, govern better. Because if you know that there's somebody right there that can easily take your spot, you're going to be more alert, you're going to be less nonchalant, you're going to be more likely to perform your task well, rather than if you are just sitting down, there's no threat, there's no competition, you're going to do as you like, because you know that um today, tomorrow, you're going to still have your spot. So competition is good, even if they don't win. It's not the whole purpose of democracy is not for governments to be changing every time. It's the fact that government can change. That's the whole idea of a democracy. So let's just see how 2027 shapes up. Thank you for watching up to this point. Make sure you like, comment, share, and let me know what are your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for watching up to this point, and I'll see you in the next